Now I'm going to walk you through how to make the appropriate XML layout changes so that our app matches the red lines from our designer. So let's start with an easy change first. I noticed right away that there's too much padding in the current version of our app. So when I scroll in the app, notice that the padding goes all the way around the whole list. Even if I scroll the list, the padding is still there. So that tells me that the padding is probably in the list view. Remember that we declared the list view XML element in the word list XML file. And sure enough, inside I see that the padding values are set on it. So let's remove all these padding values. Also, if we go to our dimensions.xml file, my code doesn't revert to these dimension values anymore. The ones for activity horizontal main and activity vertical main. So I can delete these two lines from the values dimensions.xml file where the activity horizontal margin and the activity vertical margin were initially set to 16 dps. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this other dimension that's still in this file, this one here for list item height, because we'll still need that one. You'll also notice that we have one more dimensions file that's left. So this one for W820dp. This file is used for larger screen devices. And here inside, we have an even larger value set for the activity horizontal main margin. But we don't need this dimension anymore, so we can actually go ahead and delete this entire file. So I'm going to head over to Project, navigate to that file, and delete it. Now let's see what the app looks like on our device. So tapping to the numbers activity. Nice. So those code changes got rid of the 16 dp border around the whole list. Nice job. Now let's move on to the list item layout. And if you remember, each list item should have a minimum height of 88 dips. Now if that number sounds familiar, it's because we saved it off earlier in our dimensions.xml file. So we saved it under the list item height value. So I'm going to copy that for use later. So that means if we head back to the list item layout, we can refer to it as such. So here I'm setting the minimum height to refer to @dimensions/list item height. Now notice here, I prefer to set the minimum height value to be 88 dips instead of fixing the height to be 88 exactly. So this combination of values means that the linear layout must be 88 dips in height at least, but can be taller if needed, depending on the content inside the list item. Now in the design mock of our numbers activity, notice that the background of each list item is this tan color given by this hex value. So we actually already used that color in the main activity screen. So we store that color in the colors.xml file. And we have the hex value for the color that we need here. So back in the list item layout, we can refer to that color resource. So here in the root linear layout, I've set the background of the whole linear layout to be this @color/tan_background color resource. And we can refer to the color resource using this @color syntax /name of the color resource that we want. Now let's look back at our red lines. The image should be a square with both 88 dips for height and width. So essentially, it should be as tall as the list item. So here in the dimensions XML file, we stored that 88 dips in the dimensions resource already. So we can go ahead and refer to that. And this means if we ever decide that the list item should change in height, say maybe increase to 96 dps, well, we could just change it in one place, and all the places that reference this dimension will automatically be updated. So back to my list item layout, inside the image view, I'm going to change the width and height to refer to that dimension resource called list item height. And lastly, we can remove this source attribute that uses the basket placeholder icon. Now that we can correctly set the image dynamically when the app is running, there's no need to have that attribute anymore. Now let's see if those code changes we made work as expected. So here's the app running on our device, and tapping into the numbers activity. Nice. So the image is now a square with dimensions 88 dp by 88 dp. And the background of the image is this nice tan color. So it's looking good so far. Now let's move on to the text part. So first, we have to set the background to be the same orange color for the text area. And this orange color is the same as the background color that we use for the numbers category in the main activity. So remember, its hex color, FD8E09, should already be in our colors.xml file. And sure enough, it's defined as the color resource called category_numbers. So back in our list item layout, let's add that. So for the linear layout that contains our two text views, we're going to set its background color to the category_numbers resource and refer to it as @color/category_numbers. So by setting the color on this linear layout, will only influence the background of these text views. Now let's go back to the red lines and see what's left to do. So we'll need to change the font stylings of these text views. They should be of a white font color, and the Miwok word should be bolded. And both should be of font size 18 SP, which, if you remember from the last course, maps to the text appearance medium. On the Miwok text view, I'll set the text appearance attribute to be text appearance medium. And so this gets us the font size of 18 SP. Then I'll set the text color to be white. And I know that the Android framework has a predefined color resource, so I can use that one by simply calling @android:color/white. And lastly, I want to set the text style to be bold. So I want to repeat something similar for the text view showing the default or English translations. So I want the text appearance to be medium and the color to be white. But I don't want it to be bold, so I won't copy that line. All right, let's check it on our device now. So tap into the numbers activity. So the appearance of the text views and the background looks correct, but the position of our two text views doesn't look quite right. So right now they're squished up into the top left corner of the vertical linear layout that's shown here in the orange background. So if we take a look back at our red lines, we see that what we need is to have our two text views vertically centered within the list item. So to figure that out, let's first figure out the bounds of each text view. And to help us out, I'm going to turn on the Show Layout Bounds under the Developers options in the Settings menu. So remember how to get there? Go back to Settings, scroll down to Developer Options, and then a little bit more than halfway down should be Show Layout Bounds. So let's go back to our Miwok app. Now with the layout bounds showing, I can see that our two text views are squished up into the top edge of the vertical linear layout. Now I need to move them down a little bit more so they take up more vertical height in the linear layout. Now there are a number of ways to tweak this layout to make it work. And here's one way. So from the last course, we learned that we can assign layout weights to the children views so they take up more available space in the parent linear layout. Now I can assign the height of each view to be 0 and give each of them a weight of 1 so that the vertical space is divided evenly between both child views. In addition, I can use an attribute called gravity. So for the first text view, I'll set its gravity value to be bottom, which will position the text content to be at the bottom of the view. And for the second text view, I'll set its gravity attribute to be top, and that'll position the text view to be at the top of the text view. And back in the code, this is what it should look like. So the Miwok text view has a width of match parent, which will fill the rest of the list item layout. Its height will be 0 dips, and its weight will be 1. The default text view also has a width of match parent. Its height is also 0 dips, and its weight is also 1. So this means that the two text views will split the available height in the parent linear layout. Then we set the gravity, which changes where the content inside the view is positioned, but note that it doesn't change the size of the view. Here we've positioned the text inside the Miwok text view to be at the bottom, and the text inside the default text view to be at the top. And this is what it looks like on the device. So tapping into numbers, we see that the two text views are centered within the list item. So let's see what it looks like for the other activities. So these are looking good. So the only thing now that we need to fix is the background list item color. So they're not all using this orange and instead are using the proper color for each category.